y'all? Welcome back to another video with Tripping with the Smiths, and today's video is an update anniversary of sorts for the heavy duty truck, semi, RV hauler. I don't know, what do people call it out there?
It's a heavy duty truck.
It's a few different names though, right?
Heavy duty truck, that's what you call it.
What he said.
You call it heavy duty truck. We've been doing this for a year and a half. It's a heavy duty truck.
Yes, but it's also, people always say tractors, tractor trailer, RV hauler. Y'all see how you arguing with me? It's what I said. Okay. Anyways, y'all.
Getting everything set up and seeing how it works. We haven't actually hooked up, so I want to make sure all the lights and everything work. All right, so this is the interior of our HDT that we've been driving around the country for the last year and a half. Right now it is in storage unit mode because we're parked here for a month. So there's some stuff in here that isn't normally in here. You can see that we added a few things to the truck since we got it, like this dash tray, which is really nice for putting stuff on. Normally there's a really inconvenient, not usable top of the dash here, but this smooths it out and allows us to put stuff there. My super expensive sound system for the truck right there. There is a whole bunch of room in here to put speakers in, but that's easy and does the trick. And then I added this piece of angle iron with USB ports. You can see each one has multiple ports in it, so we have plenty of USB power because that's something these old trucks did not come with. That is connected to its own electrical supply that I'll show you here in a little bit. Tried to avoid tapping into the actual truck's electrical supply. We run with dash cameras all the time because other drivers do stupid stuff and I don't want to be responsible for their stuff. In the back of the truck, you'll see we've got an upper bunk that has a net supposed to hold the extra driver in while we're driving, but that holds our stuff in. And that empty spot right there is where our stand-up paddle boards go right now. And then we have a lower bunk that is currently being used to store stuff. We clear that out and it can either be used for the dogs to sit on, or more recently Candace will sit back there and relax while we're driving down the road. In theory, you can put a coffee maker or something there. We thought about doing that, but we find that we stop enough times that we can just get coffee from the trailer or from the truck stop. We don't like driving more than 3 hours at a shot. So the view from the back here, you see that we've got more storage up there, more storage up there. So lots of room to store our stuff. This actually holds quite a bit of stuff. The truck did not have a backup camera when we got it, so we installed a backup camera. I think that's about it for the interior of the truck. But we've kind of added some stuff to make it more comfortable for traveling. It's easy to do a 5 or 6 hour day in here without too much discomfort, and you can do even longer as long as you take a break. A couple more things. We've got our air control for our hitch so that we can add or remove air pressure. And then down there, there's a direct link brake controller that we've added to it because the previous brake controller was a little bit outdated and didn't have a manual or anything for it. And I actually like the way this one behaves better. There's a remote you can use to control the functions of it and apply it manually if you'd like. Back here in what's called a jockey box, we've added some upgrades. We installed that inverter. It's a 2000 watt inverter to allow us to power laptops and whatever else we need to. Right now it's just primarily being used for laptops. Down below there is it's called jackalope. It's for converting the truck's wiring to the trailer wiring. I installed that after having some issues with the original trailer wiring when we got this truck, as well as some issues with the truck wiring caused by the trailer wiring connections. And you'll see later in the video the issues that we were having there. Also, I've run independent electrical from the batteries up here for the inverter, and this is where we have a painless wiring harness connected to those USB outlets and anything else we need to power in the front of the truck, just to keep it independent from the truck's wiring. Apparently these trucks don't like it if you tap into their wiring, and it can cause problems. But we've added all that there to make it a little bit more livable and give us a few more of what you'd know as modern truck conveniences that this 20-year-old truck doesn't have. That inverter is also a charger, and it's connected to this plug right here, so that if we're able to keep our truck at the campsite, we can plug it in and keep the batteries topped off. On the back, we've got a pretty decent sized bed, not quite big enough for a smart car, but we don't want a smart car, so we use it for hauling stuff. We keep the generator on the back quite often because we like to run it in between destinations. If we want to keep the trailer cool, we borrowed from the motorhome owners, and we'll run our air conditioning in the trailer an hour or two before we get to our location, so that we don't have a 100-degree RV to get into. In order to do that, I put a plug-in in the pin box of the trailer to kind of accommodate not having to run a cord down the trailer, so that works out real well. We also added a brand new trailer saver hitch. It doesn't look brand new now. It's seen about a year's worth of use because the old one was a little bit worn out and parts were hard to come by on it. Camera for hooking up, connection to the trailer for the rear of the trailer so we can see what's going on when we're driving. The bike rack doesn't stay there when we're traveling. As I said, this is kind of in storage unit mode. And then the lighting on the truck, I replaced all the lighting about 3 or 4 months ago because they were giving us problems. You'll see that upcoming in the video. And then the last thing we've got is a big box on the back of the truck with our Blue Boy on top of it. That box is called a drum box. It's, I think, 7 feet wide and 6 feet tall, or vice versa, and it's about 3 feet deep. I'll show you the inside of it here in just nothing too exciting about the drum box. It's just a big box, almost the size of a long bed pickup bed, but it's nice and closed, and it's vertical instead of horizontal. You can see we've got all our stuff up there, various shelves, and then this bottom section is a big section with no shelves that we keep larger stuff in. This is where our grill goes, this is where our dog pens go, this is where our smoker goes, and all that crap. This right here is some of the stuff that I've taken out. I didn't record all of it, but you could see that's bargain basement work. I'm surprised we didn't have wiring problems and light problems before that. And over here, more just, I mean, quite honestly, folks, this is shit work. Scotch locks to connect all the wires. It's just garbage. And I am shocked that we didn't have wiring problems before this. If this is how you're installing your wiring, you are doing it wrong. This is not good. And some of this stuff was paid for. So somebody was paid to do this kind of work. Here's our old lights. We pulled those out because as long as we're going to upgrade, it's not that expensive to upgrade and do new lights. These lights are quite old, kind of dim. So we're going to put LED lights in and some more quite quality freaking garbage wiring work. I'm sure that's a Scotch lock under there, but I don't feel like pulling it out. It's just garbage work. This is half-assed work. Please don't do this if you're wiring a truck or a trailer or anything else. That right there, just waiting for a disaster to happen. Wires almost broken, Scotch locks, just not good. Don't do work this way. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna finish running the wires and run marker wires, brake wires, reverse wires. So this is the underside of the truck. You can kind of see we got a little bit of extra wire in there, but it's all fairly neatly done. Heat shrink connectors. And then we did a junction box with all the wire in it, screwed to terminals so that hopefully nothing comes loose and we don't have any issues. And that should be good. Now we just got to install the marker lights on the side. So,
like I said, we're reviewing, giving y'all an update of having this thing for, we got it in February.
We got it in February. We started hauling with it in April. And we took our first trip from Pensacola to Texas. And we didn't know it at the time, but we had a boost leak and a bad boost sensor, and it was really underpowered. So that was our first trip, and it was kind of disappointing, to be quite honest, because it was sluggish. It was a slug when we had to go up any hills or anything like that. When it was flat, it was fine. When it was unloaded, when I brought it home, it was fine. But it was a slug on that trip. So we got it repaired, something you probably need to plan for when you buy any used vehicle, really.
Yeah.
We went and got it repaired. It cost a couple $1,000s, and we got a service done, which is all the fluids changed and everything. So it really wasn't too bad. After that, it was much better. It's still not a speed demon. If you're buying one of these trucks and you think it's just gonna fly up the mountain, they're not built to do that. Some may do that, like the really big high horsepower trucks, but this is a medium horsepower truck-ish, and it gets up the mountain just fine, but it's not a speed demon. So that's one thing to note about traveling in one of these. Everybody thinks, well, you got plenty of power to move the trailer. Yes, we do, but it doesn't move the trailer fast. So that's one of the biggest comments we get is, that's a lot of truck for that trailer. And it is, and it does pretty good moving it, and does really good controlling it, but it does not move fast. Other than that, we haven't had anything break on the truck. We've been a year and a half and nothing's broke. We've added some stuff, we've upgraded some stuff. We've done routine maintenance, which is just a little bit more expensive than a regular dually, but it's not terrible. And everything's gone just fine. So we're 18 months into it. I figure if we get another 6 months out of it at the normal, I say normal, at the payment rate we were making our payments on the F350, it'll have paid for itself. So after that, everything is a bonus. But that's not really what everybody wants to know. They want to know what it's like towing with it. What do you think, Candace? What do you about riding in it?
I don't drive it.
She does not drive it.
I have not drove it. So let's just put that out there. But I do get to ride in it. And it's a pretty nice ride. Much more comfortable. It's especially comfortable when I utilize the back seat, the back row.
Yeah.
And I finally did that like just probably, what?
In the last couple months, really.
Last few months, I utilized it.
Yeah, so she uses the bed in the back, as I mentioned in the rest of the video. She uses that from time to time, and it's really comfortable for her. The overall ride in the heavy-duty truck is way better than in the dually with a big trailer, because in a dually you start hitting the bridge abutments and it starts bouncing and bouncing and bouncing, and then the whole truck gets bounced around, and there's not really any getting away with that or away from that with an F350 or an F450. Even if you get the nice cushioned hitch and all that, it still can bounce you around pretty good. In this truck, it doesn't bounce us around at all. Nothing at all. The only real jarring that we get in the truck is when we hit a good bump and the front suspension of the truck takes a good slam, which is what you get in most vehicles. But other than that, it's got air ride on the rear end, it's got air ride hitch, it's got air ride cab, and it's got air ride seats, so you don't really feel it. So one of the best things about the truck, I think, from a driver's perspective, is I can drive it for 8 hours in a day and get done and still feel okay. I don't feel beat up, I don't feel fatigued, I don't feel like I just been, put through the ringer or anything like that. It feels pretty good. I don't like sitting for 8 hours, but as far as sitting for 8 hours goes, it's not too bad.
I agree. It's makes for, if we have to do a longer drive, it makes it much more pleasant. And Jeff likes to push the limits sometimes, even though he say he don't like it, but I think he secretly do want to just get there. Y'all know that feeling. You just want to get there.
Yep, there's times we just want to finish the drive. The other thing that we like about the truck is, as you've seen, we've got the big drum box on the back, we've got the toolboxes on the side, we've got the storage inside on the upper bunk, so it is like a small storage unit, like a 5x10 storage unit, or even bigger. Maybe, I don't think we can go 10x10, but it's a good 5x10 storage unit. So we've got diving gear, workout gear, a smoker, a grill, a bunch of tools and extra parts and crap. We've got our winter stuff, our summer stuff. We've got stand-up paddle boards. We've got bikes. We've got all kinds of stuff. And as you may or may not know, we use the garage in the toy hauler as an office, so we don't put a whole bunch of storage back there. So this allows us to carry all the stuff we need to be wherever we want to be and do whatever we want. And it hauls it all with no problem. No weight issues, we got a little bit of room issues, but that can all be solved by packing. So it allows us to haul everything that we require for full time. We even got ski stuff in there. If you saw that, there's skis in there. And there's boots and everything else that goes along with skis. So we've got all our activity stuff in the truck.
Yep.
Another thing people ask us about with the HDT is gas mileage. And really, you know, it's not really a fair comparison to a F350 or F450 because half the time you're driving those vehicles, you're not towing anything. So they do get better gas mileage. When they're actually towing, they probably drop down to about the same as this HDT. This HDT is almost purely a towing machine. So every mile it gets put on it is a towing mile. And we get somewhere between 6 and 7 miles to the gallon. So it is not great gas mileage, not at all. However, when you are going from Jackson, Wyoming to Island Park, Idaho, and you go over that big pass, I don't know what the name of the pass is, don't remember it, but it's 12% grades up and 12% grades down, and guess what? It handled it. It kept on chugging going up, and it went down with barely touching a brake. So that's one of the nice benefits of having this big hauler is that it controls the trailer really well. It doesn't really stress it out at all.
Did you just call it a different name?
I called it a hauler.
Oh.
This big hauler. Yeah. What else you got to say about a year and a half in the HDT?
I like it. That's what I got to say. And I'm glad we went ahead and went with it.
Would you go back to a regular pickup?
No.
I wouldn't either.
No, maybe a fancier big one of these.
Yeah, I would go with a newer truck or a fancier truck or maybe slightly different setup truck. But I'm pretty well sold on towing big trailers with HDTs. I do not ever want to go back to an F350 Chevy Dodge 1-ton dually. This doesn't interest me whatsoever. Not only because they're less capable trucks, but because they're $100,000 now, and I don't want to spend $100,000 every 5 or 6 years when you wear them out towing a big trailer. Campgrounds. That's what I needed. Campgrounds.
Oh, that's a good one.
We have had a couple issues with campgrounds. Early on, we called and asked the campground if they would allow us to stay there, and they gave us some stupid excuse about how we were too heavy for their roads, even though we're lighter than a Class A diesel pusher, which they allow. They just didn't really want a semi in there. So that was the first time we got turned away from a campground. And in Miami, the county parks in Miami that have campgrounds don't have room for the truck at the campsite, and if you can't park at the campsite, you can't park there.
Yeah.
And we ran into that issue. So we were unable to stay there. We managed to spend one night with the truck parked over in employee parking, and then they kicked us out the next day.
Yeah.
And they were not very sympathetic with our plight. They're like, nope, you got to go.
Nope.
You can go park your truck at Walmart or somewhere else, and the trailer can stay here, but that truck cannot stay here. So we did run into that. Other than that, we haven't had a campground issue. We do have to plan accordingly, and we have come into some places that it was difficult to get into our site because the overall length of the truck. The truck is 29 feet long, which is about 8 or 9 feet longer than your standard dually. We ran into that issue in some Corps of Engineer campgrounds, but we managed to get in to a campsite at the Corps of Engineer campgrounds. The other thing that people ask about these trucks is, can you boondock in them? And we do it all the time. We've done it on not maintained gravel roads. We've done it in cow fields. We've done it in gravel pits. We've done it in hay fields. We've done it in multiple places where, as long as you make sure that the ground is hard and it hasn't rained recently, you're generally good. It doesn't get stuck. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that it's singled, which means one axle was taken out of the back, and that puts more weight on that axle, which gives it traction. We almost got stuck once. We did a video on that, and it was because there was like 6 inches of mud under this apparently large gravel in the lot, and we walked it out, and it felt like it was hard, but when you put 12,000 pounds on it, it sunk right down into the mud underneath it.
Was that in Colorado?
No, that was in Kansas. Remember that parking lot in Kansas?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that we almost got stuck.
Yep, we got
But we managed to get out. We didn't have to get towed out or anything like that. It took a little bit of work, but
it was a lot of work.
It worked out.
Yep.
So it hasn't really changed our camping style very much, other than we carry more stuff with us. It hasn't really limited us, maybe just a little bit. I mean, we are pretty huge. The other benefit of using the HDT the way that we're doing it is that we double tow a Jeep Wrangler behind it. So I don't know if you have driven your dually in a downtown environment or a city environment, but it's not fun.
Yeah.
And the Wrangler is way better.
Yeah.
And you can go off-roading with the Wrangler, so there's that too. Much more enjoyable drive, especially, you know, we did winter last year. The Wrangler was way better. We're gonna do winter this year again. The Wrangler's gonna be way better than a dually. So all around, you get the benefit of a big truck to tow with, a smaller vehicle to get around with, a storage unit, and if you get into an accident, you're probably gonna fare better than you would in a regular pickup truck. Any closing thoughts?
No, I will reiterate something though.
What's that?
We have learned our lesson with the size, right?
Yeah.
You need to. He didn't fill y'all in, but we're gonna be full transparent. And he don't like to say what this is because we do run into this trends that they won't let us in. But how you feel about that? Are you still going to do that, or are you going to at least tell them the size we are?
I'm going to tell them what size we are. People like to discriminate. They like to think, and we haven't run into it very much, but they like to look at this heavy-duty truck and trailer and like, no, you can't have that in our campground. Our roads can't handle it. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you've got a 55,000-pound Class A in the site next to the one I was going to reserve, and that's heavier than what I'm driving, so what's the problem? Like, they just don't want the separate.
Well, we need to at least tell our size.
Yep.
The size of the full length, the whatever, because they ask you how big you are, right?
Some of them do. It depends. Some of the campgrounds you can scope out and you got a good idea, but these county campgrounds, especially down around Miami, are not friendly.
It sounds like it would be city parks.
Yeah.
It's a big city that we're going to run into trouble with. But besides that, I think you'll be fine. Jeff does a good job of staking out the spot, trying to look the best on the Google Earth or what their sites look like on the actual website for the campground. Those aren't always great, but like I said, we haven't had any big troubles. Again, just to reiterate, until we got to some cities. So, long story short, not to scare anybody about the size and getting in parks, we haven't had much trouble at all. We've been very fortunate. That's one of the big things that people say. Y'all ain't gonna be able to go in no campgrounds. It just really, I recall just now, on the way here.
Yeah, just here. And
on the way to Key West, and I was in Miami. That was it.
And it wasn't because we couldn't get in, it was because they didn't want the truck there.
Yeah.
This truck actually turns better than an F-350.
Yes.
It probably turns as well as an F-450, maybe a little bit better. So the truck maneuvers pretty well. We can get it most places. As long as there's enough room to get the entire length of the truck past whatever obstacles you are, it turns fine.
All right.
And gets into a site fine. It's just a little bit longer than an F-350.
Yeah. So you can fit, but you may have to deal with if the truck can't fit in there into your site. But
most campgrounds have overflow parking and they're fine with you going to it.
Yep.
But these Miami County parks are not having it.
Yep. Anyway, y'all, well, that takes us to closing. If we didn't answer your question in this video, drop us a comment down and we can talk more about whatever specific question you have about heavy duty trucks, haulers, big haulers,
Tractor trailers.
tractor trailers.
Class 8 trucks. What else do
Oh,
you want to
I
call them?
didn't. That's a new one.
Yeah,
Class 8.
that's the class.
All right.
Class 7 or 8.
So, yeah, for the HDT, the semi situation, drop it below. And thank y'all for watching. Comment, like, sub, and we'll see you in the next video.